Alright, so we're gonna get straight to the point. Many of you guys may wonder why Bear is not as popular as it was about 6 years ago, or why does any production of the Bear Star franchise collapse rather quick? For example, Bear Tower Defense, which is still thriving technically, but mostly mainly because of Skenjins and Bear Star. Well, I'll try to explain the reasoning in this video as I'll split this theoretical explanation into five categories. Which the first reason would be low advertisement. So Bear struggles to sort of advertise their games in any way. Um, there's kind of five reasons to this. Why advertisement is not as apparent. So community wise, the concurrent player count in Bear versus the users in the Discord server is very different. Concurrent players in the game is about, let's say, maybe 1,000 at most if there's no updates. But the Discord server has around 70k as of recording this video, and because of that, the difference is that the concurrent player count is pretty deceptive. People who see the game is not as popular may not want to play this game because the concurrent player count is not attracting the audience, despite the server having 70k members. Also, another reason to that is the promotion. Bear doesn't promote its game as much. The only way it promotes it is by the Discord server, which, like, if you think about it, Bear is mostly like anyone from like as young as 6 year old to maybe somewhere as old as maybe 21. But that's already half of the audience gone because Discord's TOS requires you to be 13 plus. So anyone younger than 13 won't know about the game. And people older than, let's say, 18 probably don't even play the game anymore. So it's a very small, like, audience for the game. Or another reason to this low advertisement is YouTubers. Sure, Bear can promote the game somewhat, but it's highly situational. So in terms of YouTube content, this kind of falls into the content base, which I'll explain after this. YouTubers are another way where Bear can promote its game. The problem is Bear can't give YouTubers the type of content they need to, promote their game because there's nothing to really make content about anymore in this game. Um, and I'll explain this further more about YouTubers, but also another reason to lower advertisement is abandonment. Um, Sheed and his respective colleagues focus on other creations like Bear Star and Skenjins, despite Bear Alpha was probably their most popular game because of several reasons. And this kind of moves into like the second reasoning. The second category I'll explain is preferable alternatives. So Bear content wise has not changed since 2019. It's literally been the same. With new games releasing like Banana Eats, Piggy, and let's say Forsaken, they bring much more to the table than what Bear has in 7 years. Like, for example, Banana Eats and Piggy, they both have high influence marketing where a lot of popular YouTubers like, let's say Flamingo and Creedcraft all make content on this game, which is why they're pretty popular and still is to this day. For Banana Eats, they incorporate memes, which Bear also does that, but it's not like the main core of the game. And unlike Piggy, Bear doesn't have a complete lore, nor it doesn't have much of a replayability like Piggy does, which kind of is the reason why Bear is not the option chosen compared to these alternatives. And Forsaken, let's use as an example, has more things to do in the game, better content, better gameplay, and it's more complex and interesting for people. The third category I'll explain is content, which I'll switch here and there between content and low advertisement. But content wise, like I said, Bear has too much repetition and no replayability. The game has been nearly the same for years, and people will get tired of playing the same thing over and over again, which is because of the stagnant updates and like the drought of events happening. Fewer updates And like I said, repetitive gameplay will just not want people to play the game. At best, you could probably play this game for maybe an hour. Also, this is a highly my opinion, but the events that we have now, if they were released way earlier, I think Bear would still be would be thriving right now. Like would be way better than it is now. But the events, it kind of can't really save Bear anymore in a way because like the audience is not there no more. Like yeah, basically. And in player integration, some people may not understand the game itself. Like if you're a new player to Bear, and you die immediately, you wouldn't really want to play the game anymore because you're just gonna keep dying. It's not Bear is not really like player friendly in any way. I would say, and the game is a little bit like complex. And yet again, abandonment with no content. The YouTubers struggle to make any content on the game, which furthermore regresses advertisement and promotion. So some YouTubers who made content on the game since day one, like Diegards and Kylie Kian, who no longer makes Bear content consistently, which is one category of YouTubers. Then you have another category of YouTubers who don't upload consistently despite starting day with Bear content like Flowful Stone and King of Rascals. And then you have the third type of YouTubers where they make content on Bear, but it's not really like grabbing the attention of players like, you know, Konos and I don't know, Stick, because they make really interesting content. It's just not grabbing the attention of them. And then you have people, the another type of YouTubers where they make content, but they're not as popular as the rest of these contents creators named. Like, you know, for example, myself, because, and, you know, maybe a few others like Hurry Jr. 123 and Paradox and Mars Maroon. They're trying to make content, but you can't really make content because Bear content wise is really competitive. And I've been noticing this, but if there's an update that happens in Bear and another YouTuber like let's say Monkey Wall and Moonolish makes it before you, people are gonna watch them more than they will watch you because you're already late. Plus they already had the content out there. Plus they're already popular. So it's really difficult. And then you have like YouTubers who used to make content on the game, now they don't. Like let's say TMG Boom and Kylie Kin again. They started with Bear and then switched over. So it's kind of why the game kind of has no advertisement YouTube wise. It's because of the content that's not being gifted to the YouTubers to make the promotion there. Because the relationship between the game Bear and the people who makes it and the YouTubers is symbiotic. If Bear cannot make content for the YouTubers cannot use the content to promote the game, which therefore kind of breaks the relationship. It makes it harder for the both sides to work together. And jumping into the fourth category, you have failed sequels to Bear Alpha like Bear Star and Skengens. This is because it alienates the fan base because it's not the game is very different from Bear Alpha. Well, besides Bear Star, but I'm talking about like Bear Tower Defense and Skengens. And Skengens, for example, fails to deliver the magic Alpha has in terms of like nostalgia because Skengens doesn't really have too much Bear related stuff incorporated into it. Because mainly Skengens is kind of like a recreation of the Thomas Racing game that was deleted back in like 2020 or something. And then Bear Star, many people say it's too high quality of a game, which is the exact same reason why it fails to also deliver the magic Alpha has, because Alpha has sort of its charm to it, where being like nostalgia. Bear Star doesn't give that. And in Bear Tower Defense, it also fails to deliver the magic Alpha has because it's incorporating a new style of gameplay that many people who've been playing Bear Alpha is not used to. Which is the main reason why any Bear game sequel collapses immediately. Are all these games, Skengens, Bear Star, and Bear Tower Defense good? Yes, of course. But it's problematic when they cannot bring the kind of charm like the most popular game brings for Bear Star. And then more opinions on this. I'll I was interviewing a few YouTubers who no longer make bear content or not too much into bear, like Connor Dev, Best POK, and more. Um, Bear hasn't exactly aged the best in terms of gameplay wise and content, which is why it's not really like developing. And then Bear, not only is it YouTube and content competitive, it's game competitive as well. Like I said, named earlier, Banana Eats, Piggy, and Forsaken. Uh, It's a very competitive, like, sort of type of game because Bear is originally, I guess, considered the Roblox original asymmetrical game, but the game hasn't really changed too much where people are kind of getting bored of the game, you could say, which is why it was popular in 2019 and 2020 because Bear was a one of a kind type of game back then. But now with new games coming in, it's sort of kind of like its popularity kind of vanished to that. Bear could Bear still be saved? I would say so. How? It's kind of up in the air. You can't really know how to save the game or the franchise itself. But in my opinion, I think it's savable. And yeah, this is kind of my explanation. Uh, I credit these people up here for helping me develop kind of an idea for this video. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.